Number one in our post-spring Big Ten power rankings, none other than the defending national champion, Ohio State Buckeyes. We went back and forth with them and Penn State, obviously. And we'll obviously talk about Penn State later. But for the Buckeyes, Julian Sayin seems to have the inside track. But I think they're making it a true competition with him and Lincoln Kienholz, however you pronounce it. But yeah, Julian Sayin seems to have the inside track. Obviously, they've got one of the best wide receiver rooms in the country, like they do every single stinking year. Best wide receiver in the country, no doubt. Jeremiah Smith, complimented this year by Carnell Tate and Brandon Ennis. They got C.J. Donaldson over from West Virginia as running back. James Peoples is there. Man, they're loaded as always on the offensive side of the ball. They got on the defensive side of the ball, though, 3 returning starters on D, but it helps when you have the best player in the country on defense and Caleb Downs. D-line was their biggest question going into the spring, but they answered that with Bill Atkinson.
Yeah, I just we'll start there. We'll start on the defensive side of the ball. Obviously too, they're going to be replacing, arguably the best defensive coordinator in college football in Jim Knowles with Matt Patricia, who's coming over from the NFL. Reports are that things have gone well there so far with his early tenure there here in the offseason. But it's just, man, when you look at this roster, they are replacing obviously the most talented roster in college football last year. But it's Ohio State, man. They're one of the top recruiting teams in the country. They just, reload year after year. They have a chance to possibly be starting 2 of the most physically imposing edge rushers on the opposite sides of each other on Larry Johnson's defensive line and Kenyatta Jackson and Bo Atkinson. Atkinson was very productive at North Carolina when he hit the transfer portal in the spring. In my opinion, I think that him and then running back Jade Knott that went to Oklahoma were probably 2 of the biggest impact transfers of the spring portal. Atkinson he was being looked at. It was down to Georgia, Ohio State. That tells you all you need to know about him. And Kenyatta Jackson is like 6'6", 255, 260. He just seems like he's the next one at the edge rushing position for Ohio State. We know that they, year after year, it's just the Bosa brothers. Last year with multiple edge rushers that were really good with Jack Sawyer and JTT. And it looks like that Kenyatta Jackson and Bo Atkinson are next up. And, Caden Curry is also really good as an edge rusher for them as well. But as far as, defensive, like maybe like 1 or 2 defensive linemen, middle linebacker, and safety, they've got, one of the best trios in the country at those positions. I know they're replacing a lot of around those pieces, but Caleb Downs at safety and Sonny Styles at middle linebacker, and just to mention, Bo Atkinson and Kenyatta Jackson. That's some great pieces to build around on that Buckeye defense. If there's any devil's advocate thing that you would be worried about with the Buckeye D, it's, Jim Knowles.
Yeah.
Before Jim Knowles got there, I know we, had some folks for Ohio State that, kind of came at us when he made the move to Penn State, and we said he was the best defensive coordinator in the country, and that may turn out to be a little bit of when I say a big issue, no, Ohio State's got such good players, it's not going to be a big issue. But as far as winning a national championship, which is obviously what Ohio State, their aspirations are and what their expectations are every single year with that program, can Matt Patricia in year 1 will that defense be good enough, national championship level good enough with all that they're replacing the defensive coordinator? Before Knowles got there, the Buckeyes, if you remember, dude, they weren't like elite defensively, like for 3 years in a row. Before Knowles got there with Ohio State. Things changed dramatically when he got there. And like after year 1, I think it was after the first year, like Ohio State, the last 2 years under Knowles was ranked in the top 3 in total defense and scoring defense in the entire country. So it's, how does Matt Patricia, how does that happen year 1? Dude, they're replacing both coordinators.
Yeah.
We talked about it last year. The best combo of coordinators in all of college football was at Ohio State with Chip Kelly and Jim Knowles. Now they're having Matt Patricia at DC and the star, kind of like the I don't know if there's ever been a wide receivers coach that got more talked about, nationally than Brian Hartline
For
because obviously,
years.
yeah, because of what all the just year after year after year, the dudes that he'd bring in recruiting, and then obviously how well that they progressed when they got there. I mean, you could definitely make an argument that Ohio State's wide receiver you. I mean, that's definitely an argument. And that's
Oh, yeah.
because of Brian Hartline, the guys that he brings in. Brian Hartline at the wide receiver coach position, and then Larry Johnson at the defensive line coach. Those two guys are just elite recruiters with their position groups and do a really good job of developing players at those positions. So I ask you, I mean, do we not think that there's going to be some, like at least a little bit of a drop off offensively with breaking in a new quarterback? I don't care how talented he is. I know he's going to be extremely talented if Julian Sayin ends up being the guy. I mean, he was a 5-star, one of the top quarterbacks in the country coming out of high school. The receiving crew is ridiculous. The skill position overall, ridiculous, like always with Ohio State. But this is the first year that Hartline has been the primary play caller. I know he's had the offensive coordinator title before, but he's never been the primary play caller. He is now. Do you expect any drop off at all there?
Yeah, I mean, there's got to be some
Right.
drop off. Like, you're going to a guy who's, like you said, first year starter for at quarterback. I know he's got some dudes he can throw to who are reliable, who will make it a little easier on him. But yeah, I mean, it's the first time play calling for Brian Hartline. Offensive line lost a couple of pieces.
Mm-hmm.
And my question is Ryan Day, right? Let's focus on Ryan Day for a second.
Mm-hmm.
We've been critical. Everyone's been critical of him in the past in big games. All right. He got the monkey off his back last year winning the national championship. But in big games, we saw against Michigan, he coaches a little tentatively. In the playoffs, they kind of let it fly, but they were just on such a heater in the playoffs that, it really didn't make a difference how he was coaching. Do you see does he continue to coach the same in games like that against Penn State and Michigan and maybe that Texas that first game? Or because he won that national championship, does he coach a little like more freely?
I don't know, man, because I think the last 2 years they could absolutely lean on that defense more with how nasty the D was.
Yeah,
Yeah,
they
so
might
if
have
the
to put
defense,
up they might have to put up some more points this year.
yeah, I mean, I think the defense. I mean, again, they still have the players to be excellent this year. Will they be a top 3 defense in the country? I don't know. Time will tell. But if they can't just lean on the defense to shut people down, will they have to let it fly more on offense? And I mean, again, they've got the pieces at wide receiver and the talent at quarterback. It's just, again, the quarterback position's unproven. I don't know that Ryan Day necessarily wants to just go into the season and let's just put it on the quarterback and start slinging it all over the yard again. But with a former wide receivers coach who's now calling the plays, Ryan Day, before Hartline and before Chip Kelly, was known to throw the ball more and not run the football as much. Chip Kelly was brought in to help out with, being a play caller that Ryan Day trusted, but also to firm up that run game. And that didn't happen until the playoffs. They were incredible in the run game during the playoffs and earlier in the season last year before they had the offensive lineman injuries. But I don't know, man. I just think that with breaking in new coordinators, replacing so much that they're replacing on both sides of the ball, they're not that. Last year, they were absolutely the team going into the year that was national championship or bust. That was our show, every show that you would listen to talking about college football before the season. Hell, they were even saying it, national championship or bust. This year, I know that's the expectations because that's the expectations every year at Ohio State. But they don't have the overall roster across the board that is just head and shoulders better than everybody else. They're right there now, closer with your Penn States and your Oregons and Georgias and the Alabamas and so on, roster-wise. But they absolutely are still good enough and talented enough to win it all, just like every year at Ohio State.